Hi, and welcome to YouLi. My name is Nick, and I'm going to be your guide today. We are going to build our first trip together. So when you open YouLi for the first time, you may have this navigation menu over on the left-hand side. Let's open up Trips I'm Planning and head over to your trip dashboard. If this is the first time that you're opening up YouLi, you may just have a couple of sample trips in there. We're going to start you from scratch. Come up to the Create Trip button and give that a click, please. This trip wizard is going to walk us through some of the basic steps, so follow with me. We won't be going through every single field, just the one so that we can get you started as quickly as possible. So our trip name, I'm going to call this my Christmas time river cruise down the Danube. You always change this later. When I tab off of that, YouLi is going to create a trip short name. This will be the URL that you give to other folks later. If you need to shorten this up, you can do this right here. So I might call this the Xmas Cruise 2027. That makes things a lot easier. Your trip main contact should be listed there. We're going to skip the tags because that's something that you'll do once you have many trips under your belt. We'll talk about tour series at a later time. Let's make this trip public. That way folks will be able to find it. You're going to put in the primary location. I'm going to say that this is going to be Nuremberg, Germany. And you'll want to put in the correct time zone. Once you've got that, let's click Create Trip. Fantastic. Here's where we'll put in our image banner. If you don't have one, you can click that image and search the Unsplash library for photos. Mine is going to be a river cruise. So if I find an image that I like, I can select it, click Done, and that becomes my banner image. I already have an image, so I'm going to click this again, upload my own, and select that image. And any of these steps that I'm showing you can be repeated at any time during the process. Fantastic. We won't choose single day event. We will put in the start dates. So this is going to be starting on December 1, 2027. Whoops. Let's try this again. And my trip will end on the 7th. The trip summary heading shows at the top of your sales page. So you'll want to put a heading and a trip summary. Let me put that in now. You'll notice that your text can be formatted. You can even include images and video embeds if you wish. Now that I've got all of that, I'm going to click the Finish button. Congratulations, we've got the first part of it done. Now you're probably already curious, wondering what this site looks like. If you click the Preview as Registered button, you can see my banner is showing up at the very, very top. I've got this bar down here that's talking about downloading the mobile app. I'm going to close that out. So there's my entire banner. I've got this big banner that goes across that talks about the name of the cruise again, along with place, the location, and the dates. You are able to take this out, and in the next section, I will show you how to do that. Scroll down some, you'll see where that summary heading and the summary shows up right here. Let's go ahead and start editing the site a little bit more. I'm back on my dashboard and I'm ready to edit my trip. I've got my navigation bar over on the left-hand side. This toolbar is going to help me edit my entire trip for my customers. Let's hit this pencil and we'll update the trip. Now the details on the first tab for overview are pulled over from the wizard. So I've got the name of the trip. If you need to change it, you could do it here. The trip short name, the fact that it is public, the location, the dates, If you're going to close the registration before the trip actually takes place, you can choose those dates here. So perhaps I won't take any more reservations before or after first. Put in a note explaining why registrations have been closed if somebody clicks after that point. And I've got my trip summary and heading that we did before. Save those changes. We are now ready to go on to pricing. Let's click the pricing link. You have a choice at this point to either collect expressions of interest or to take bookings. Bookings is where you're going to be collecting payments. Expressions of interest is if you're just finding out if folks are interested in a particular trip. So in this case, because the trip is more than a year out, in my case, I might put the trip out there and say, hey, who's interested in this trip? And collect expressions of interest so that they can give me their contact information and I can let them know when the trip actually goes live. Or if you're an organization that likes to screen their people before you allow them to come on your trip, you can also use this take expressions of interest, allow them to give their name and contact information, and then you can reach back out to them, interview them, and if they're a good fit for your trip, release them so that they can start making payments and get them registered. We are going to choose take bookings for this trip. Now you have a couple of different booking flows. The tier that you signed up for YouLi is going to determine how much of this you're going to actually see. Now, each one of these has their own particular flow. If you want your folks to look at your sales page and then register and make payments, this is the flow that you want to choose. If you want them to view the trip page and then register their interest and then give them the option to make payment, this is the one that you'll choose. If you want them just to go directly to your registration page and make their payment, this is the option that you would choose. I'm going to choose this third option. I'm going to set my trip currency to USD because I'm in the United States. And now I'm going to start adding my pricing packages. Packages are how you're going to sell your trips. So if you are selling king suites and twin rooms, those are two different packages. You can keep inventory for both of them. So 5 king suites and 3 twins. You might be selling individual rooms in a villa. So the Emerald Suite, the Ruby Suite, the Diamond Suite. Each one of those is its own pricing package. So you'll want to think about how you're going to sell your rooms to your folks. Let's add a pricing package. Let's say that I've got a king suite. You've got a couple different pricing modes. Choose the one that's appropriate for you. So in my case, I'm going to choose the occupancy based upon booking. So if I say that a room can have 2 people in that room, you'll notice how it goes from a single occupancy price to 2 people. The other options under pricing mode are going to give you different options, including price based on the allocated itinerary items, price per night, and must book at least minimum occupancy. Let's leave it on choose occupancy based upon booking because that's very popular. And I'll say that a single occupancy price is going to be $69.99. And for 2 people, you want to put in the price that each of them will pay. So in this case, they'll each get $1,000 off, and maybe it's $59.99. So if a single person goes, it's $69.99 for that room. If 2 people go, I'll be making $11,998 on that room. Leave this as published unless you want to hide this room for some reason. If you want to put additional details, you can come under the Hide Advanced Options button, assign it a category if you wish, or just leave it as is, and then put in a description. In my case, I like to put in a description of the room. I can even upload a picture of that room. Now, before you hit save, you might have noticed that there is this max number of bookings. If I leave this checked, customers will be able to book as many king rooms as they want. But if I've only reserved, let's say, 5 king rooms, I'll want to make sure that I uncheck this and indicate that I only have 5 King Suites. All right. YouLi will do the inventory on the back end so that if all 5 are sold, it won't be able to accept anymore. Once I've got all of that in, I'll click the Save button, and I'm going to add one more package. It's going to prompt me for a payment, but we'll get there in a moment. I'm going to add one more package, add package. I'm going to do a twin room. There's only going to be one person in the twin room. So I'm going to say the minimum occupancy is 1 person, and that person's going to pay $39.99. And I'll say that I've got 3 of those rooms. We'll save that. Scroll down a little bit. I can now see my different packages that are available. If you want to set a minimum and maximum number of people allowed to book for this trip, you can set that up here. If you'd like to set up a wait list so that once your trip is sold out, you can continue to take people's information in case they're interested. So I'm going to offer a wait list. YouLi's going to create a join waitlist button for you. You can rename that button if you want, and change the waitlist message if you don't like what's there. Customize it for your needs. I'm going to scroll down a little bit more, and under payment methods, I'm going to turn this on so I can start collecting my payments. Now, I'm already hooked up to the Stripe system. If you've not connected your Stripe account, by clicking this, it's going to walk you through the wizard to connect your Stripe account. You'd go to Stripe dashboard, click the button, you'd have to put in your username and password, and then the 2 systems will talk to each other. Depending on the tier that you've signed up with YouLi, you'll be able to include a credit card surcharge. So let's say that I'm going to charge a 3.1% surcharge to cover the fees that YouLi is going to charge me, plus the per transaction fee. Enabling Stripe adaptive pricing allows customers to pay in their home currency. So for example, if I'm here in the States and I sell this to somebody in Canada, when they go to check out, they'll see the price not only in US dollars, but also in Canadian dollars, and they'll get the option to pay in whichever currency they're most comfortable with. Let's talk about deposits and installments. Let's click Add Deposit. You have 3 different options: the dynamic plan, the percentage, and the fixed amount. So if you're one of these people that want a fixed amount for every single payment, so I want $500 deposit, I want $1,000 for the next payment, $1,500 for the payment after that, and then the balance, fixed amount is the way to go. Same concept, but percentage allows you to do it by percentage. So I want 10% down for the deposit, and then I want 15% or 20% for each remaining installment. So dynamic allows you to play with those percentages. I'll choose dynamic plan. I'm going to choose 1% to the nearest 500. That works fine for me. And I'm going to make this due 0 days after registration. If you've got specific dates, you can choose them here. Otherwise, set this up so it's 0 days after registration, before the trip date, however you're planning on collecting it. YouLi can be set up so that it automatically sets reminders. I keep mine on automatically. And let's click the Add button. You can add your additional payment installments now. So let's click that green payment installment button. I'm going to call this installment 2. I'm going to say that this is going to be due 90 days after registration. It's going to send automatic reminders. And what YouLi is going to do is it's going to split up the remaining payments across all of these other dates. So I've got, let's do 120 days, and I'm going to do one more payment of 150 days out. And then you'll see that the remaining balance due, I can say when that is due, I'm going to use before the trip starts and send out my automatic reminders. All right. So now I've got my entire payment installment schedule created. Here in the pricing section, I like to put something like what's included and then list out what's included and what's not included in this section here. By default, you'll see this little template, but if you've got your own what's included, what's not included, you're going to put that here. Once again, you can format text, you can include images, whatever is necessary. I'm going to press the Save Changes button. And then the last section that we're going to look at is the settings. On the Settings tab, you can change the name of most of the buttons throughout all of YouLi. So you've got your different trip page style, so the cards, or the sales page style, branding options. You may or may not have options there. And then if you remember, let's look at the page one more time. I've got this banner that goes across, the dates, the city, this is great, but I already have all that information in my banner, so it'd be super for me to turn this off. Let's show you where we can do that. So back here on the Update Trip and on the Settings, I'm going to leave the trip banner up. That's the big banner at the top. But then we can turn off the trip name, the location, the days, the dates, and the cost. Or you can leave on what you want. Doesn't matter. Let me save those changes, and let's refresh this screen. Now, if you don't put that information in your banner, leave it in YouLi. It's okay. Okay, so now you'll notice that I don't have any of that stuff. And if I want to get rid of this banner as well, I can turn that banner off. It's completely customizable. Great. So it's nice and clean. I've got my big banner here, and now the rest of the YouLi page come under here. Moving down the page a little bit more, if you want people to register now, maybe you don't want the words express interest. Maybe you want to say register now, or pay now, or take me with you. And you notice that each one of these different options can be switched up however you wish. All right. The trip page menu labels is the customer navigation. So in this case, it's down on the left-hand side. So in this case, the customer is going to see the itinerary, the other people who are traveling, the invoice, their tasks, documents, and contact us. If you don't want certain pieces turned on, you can just uncheck them and save them. And you'll notice by turning off those features, when I come back here and refresh the page, my menu has shortened up. Excellent. These default email messages will go out to your customers when they're triggered. The most important, in my opinion, is this show message after registration. This is going to be emailed to the customer after registration. You also have the option of having this as a pop-up. So right now it says, we're thrilled that you are interested in the trip. You can actually change that to something like, we are thrilled that you're joining us for this trip. Below, click the View Now button or View Trip button, and you'll be whisked off to your private portal where you'll be able to make payments, view the itinerary, fill out your documents, and so much more. Customize that however you wish. Once again, you've got the option of complete formatting. And once you've got that, let's save the changes. And now everything on the Update Trip piece is done. Now that we've updated the trip with most of the details that we're going to need, let's go on to the fun part and start creating the sales page. To do that, let's navigate over to this Manage, Highlight, and Itinerary icon that looks like an eye with a circle around it. Click that, please. And you'll notice that we've got two separate sections here, one for the highlights and one for the itinerary. The highlights give us the details about the trip, such as where are we going? Why are we going there? What are we going to see? Tell me about the food. Tell me about the accommodations. What other benefits will we see? tell me what's included and what's not included. Basically, think of it as an extended FAQ for your customer. Your itinerary is where you're going to put your day by day. So on day 1, you'll be picked up from the airport. Day 2, there's going to be a healing circle and yoga and all that kind of good stuff. Let's first focus on the highlights. So since there's nothing here, we can click Add Item here or Add Highlight Item here. Either one's fine. You'll notice that there's a place for an image. If you already have an image, you can upload your own, or you can search the Unsplash library. I'm going to look for Christmas markets, and I'll use one of the images. Let's use that one. Looks good. And we're going to put in a title for this. What is a Christmas market? Right? Scroll down a little bit. You'll notice that this item is supposed to be showing up on the highlights as well as the itinerary. I'm going to have it just show up on the highlights. Right now, this activity is open to absolutely everybody. But if this was something special where people had to pay extra, such as a cooking class or a hot air balloon ride, you could add that cost right here, and then people would be able to purchase that upon checkout. You can indicate the max number of people that are able to attend. And if there's a due date that you want to receive everybody's responses by so that you can make your reservations, feel free to add that there. All right. This is going to be included for everybody, so I'm just going to leave it open. The planner notes is something that the customers will see. So if you need to have notes to yourself, such as if this were a hot air balloon ride, you might want to say that this was Gus's Superior Balloon Rides and put in the name of the proprietor and the phone number and any other contact details. That way it's all in one place. Now the description is something that the customers are going to see, so you'll want to type in all of the details there. So I've prepared some text. I like bolding the text just to make it a little bit more visually interesting. I want to indicate that you could add additional photos here. You could also embed videos, hyperlinks. And if this area is too small for you to work with, you can always expand that section just by clicking there. You've got different header styles. And then once you have everything the way that you want it, click OK. If you wanted to put an address or a location, you could certainly do that there. Include website links and document links. Once you have that first item in, let's click Publish, and your first highlight has been added to your trip. I'm going to take a few moments and fill this in and be right back with you. Welcome back. You can see that I've added some additional highlights. Just a quick note, if you end up doing these same activities over and over again, they can be added to a library, and you can take that library and organize it so that the next time that you need to add content to your highlights, you can just simply grab it from the library. So add a highlight from the library. It would take you out to your library, grab it, and then bring it on over. Your itinerary is set up exactly the same way as your highlights, except for one option. I'm going to say that this is just a standard itinerary item. I'll still put in a name. The only difference is that I've got a place for a date, a start date, and an end date. And if this is happening at a particular time, I can put in a time. Otherwise, you can make all of your itinerary items optional to pay, and there's still a place for a description. I'll go put in some of those details now and be right back. All right, I'm back. You'll see that I've added an itinerary. Each separate day has its particular itinerary item, hour by hour activities. So breakfast is going to be at 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. and then there's going to be a yoga class from 10 a.m. until 11, and then there's lunch from 12. You can add all of that in here. I'm just going for a very simple layout this time. Let's take a quick preview and see what we've built so far. If you come up to the orange Preview as Registered button, there's our banner, our qualifier statement, and then all of our highlights. Your customer will be able to click on any of these and open them up and read the contents, and then navigate from one to the next. When you're ready to check out the itinerary, there's your simple day-by-day itinerary, and your customers are able to click on the little calendar and download it to either their Outlook or iCalendar or to their Google Calendars. All right, let's add some tasks and forms for our customers. If you come over to the left-hand side in the navigation bar and come down to the checkbox, this is where you're going to add tasks and forms for your customers. When you click on this, it'll take you to the screen for the traveler tasks. You'll notice that there's already a few tasks that are in there by default. You can go in there and edit any of those for your needs, but we're going to build one from scratch. Let's click the Add Task button in the upper right. We're going to create a release of liability form. So I'll name this a release of liability. Some basic instructions are optional. I'm not going to put any in there right now, but you might want to say something like, please complete this form. If you have a due date for this form, you can click on the due date, or if you prefer, switch to a relative date, such as 10 days after booking. I'm going to put no date in there so that it is due immediately. Let's put on the automatic reminders. I do have to have a date in there if I'm going to do that. So send the automatic reminders. You'll see how those work out. Again, I'm going to get rid of the date just so that it shows up for this demo. Now let's start actually building the form. You have different options here. You can check box so that the customer says, hey, I saw this, I read this, that's fine. Or they may choose a select all that apply, a radio button, there's date pickers, document uploads, passport uploads. We're going to choose custom form and we're going to build our own. I'm going to select that, and that's going to allow me to add headers, instructions, and fields. So I'm going to come over to Add to Form. I'm going to put in a heading, and I'm going to say Release of Liability. Now here's what I like to do for the meat of the form. Come over to Add to Form and add your instructions. You can now type in your instructions for the customer. I'm going to take out the signature pieces and the date piece. You'll see why in just a second. This can all be formatted. So you can put in formatted text, hyperlinks, etc. I'm going to take this little blurb out of there and save it. Now I need to collect the customer's signature and the date. So I'm going to come to Add to Form. I'm going to add a field. And I'm going to ask for a single line text box, and I'm going to tell the customer to type your name to agree to these terms. And I'll say save. You'll notice that this is a required field. And I also want to capture today's date. So Add to Form, field, date, and we'll choose the date picker. Save it and publish it. Now, if I were your customer, what would that look like? Well, let's preview as a registered customer. And if I scroll down and look at the tasks, there's my release of liability form. Your customer would open it up. They would see the entire form. And at the bottom, they could type their name and today's date and submit it. Now, because this is just a preview for a customer, there's not a way to actually submit this, but in a live system, there would be a submit button. That would be complete. And then your customer can check that task off.